People with street smarts, what is your most street tip? Story 1. If you feel like it's a setup, it probably is. If someone is trying to rush you to do it, always have an escape plan. Never have a partner in crime they will snitch. If someone is trying to rush you, don't do it is not only true with real life on the street action, come over here quick, my friend is hurt, but also all sorts of scams and schemes. If someone's trying to sell you something, but they tell you they need you to buy/pay now or lose the offer, or someone trying to convince you that you won something, but you have to claim your prize now or lose it, or that they need your information now to resolve a dispute, or if someone tells you that you need to fix/replace a part of your car, something in your house, anything like that, and it needs to be done now. If anything like that seems fishy, again, talking about phone/internet scams mostly here, but also sketchy salesmen or door-to-door scammers, simply ask them if you can talk about it with your spouse/friend/parent/son/neighbor who knows about these sorts of things, and contact them tomorrow. The more that makes them push back about needing it done now, the less you trust them. I met this girl at the bar like 10 years ago, and we hit it off chatting for an hour or so. It was getting late, so I told her I was taking off but would be interested in seeing her sometime. Instead of seeing her sometime, she decided to come home with me that night. We drove the whole half-mile to my apartment downtown and parked on the street. As I go to get out of the car, she doesn't want to get out and is literally stalling while texting someone. I wait for a minute or two and ask if she's texting her mom or friends that she's all right and where she's going. She says no and continues to text. I ask if she's coming up, and she's like, yeah, in a few minutes. The whole situation seemed shady. She would not give me any information and kept asking me to wait, to sit with her in the car and wait. I told her she could come up or we could just go out some other night if she didn't feel comfortable coming up right now, and nothing. After a few minutes of this, something told me to just leave, and I did. I went upstairs to my apartment, which happened to be overlooking where she parked. I kept my lights off when I went into the apartment and just stared out the window for about 15 minutes until another car pulled up. A guy got out and walked to her door. They chatted for a few seconds, and then they both drove away. I'm glad I wasn't crap-faced and noticed that crap seemed off because it probably was off. I think you were gonna get robbed, like you and your apartment stripped. Criminal. I'll never snitch on my boys. Cop. If you tell us who your accomplices were, you'll only get 1 year in prison. If you don't tell us, you're looking at about 30 years. Okay, so my accomplices were, sorry scammers, looks like you'll have to do the opposite now to fool people because we're on to you. Hey, I have this amazing deal for you. Oh yeah, what is it? I'm not going to tell you until tomorrow. Goodbye. Story 2. If you're in the hood and you see kids playing outside, you're probably safe. If there are a lot of people outside but no kids, be super cautious and walk with a purpose. If it's empty or only teenagers/young adults, get out ASAP. If you're in the hood and the children scatter, that's your cue to scatter. They might not completely read the situation, but they know when the energy changes. I lived in South Central for a while, and although I never personally experienced anything that bad, this is exactly how I describe it. The energy can just change at a moment's notice. I remember one day going out for groceries at the store around the corner, and parents were walking with their kids, ice cream trucks were out, etc. And then when I finished shopping, there was this noticeable shift in energy, like something just felt darker. Everyone was gone and it just felt eerie. I went home and then like 20 minutes later heard a bunch of sirens and found out a dude across the street got shot and died. Yeah, I had to deal with a lot of this stuff too, growing up on the mean streets of a small town in northern Minnesota. Oh, I'm gonna be so out of my depth in this video. Story 3. Blend in everywhere, even if you're faking it. And if you're faking it, get out as soon as you inconspicuously can. My wife never understands why I say this. Her natural inclination when traveling is to unfurl a huge paper map and erratically walk around a public square with it in front of her looking very confused. I'm amazed she has any possessions. Then she looks at me like I'm crazy for discreetly leaning against the wall and using my phone to look at a map. I could easily be texting, no one will target us. My partner and I look out of place everywhere. When we're carrying our cameras, we honestly look like the touristiest tourists ever. Surely you can't be that conspicuous, some of you will say, to which I'll just say this. In Barcelona, everybody, servers, anyone service or tourism related, random people on the street, talks to us in English. We're Spaniards. When my sister moved into her apartment in Harlem, a neighbor later told her to make sure she kept her doors locked and next time cover up her belongings. because now the whole neighborhood knows what kind of TV you got. Story 4. Never show your watch, wallet, or phone in areas known for pickpockets. Also, don't touch your pockets if you see warning signs, because a good thief will be watching to see which pocket your valuables are in. And when approached by someone on the street, be mindful of who else is watching and what is behind you. Try to keep everything in front of you and don't be afraid to shout and swear at them to get attention. If someone puts a gun or knife in your face, don't be a hero. To piggyback on safe environments, every other minute give a quick glance around, occasionally look behind you real good. Grew up in a rough area and had friends get robbed and pistol whipped when I was younger, so I always developed this technique. Other good ones for rough areas, say "what's up" first. I was in Harlem on the train platform about 1 a.m. and a group was coming down messing with every person they came by. I gave "we're early, what's up" and head up nod, not head down, and I just got back a sup and stared as they rolled on by. I use this when passing bus stops, etc. too. Looks like you're the one to avoid, lol. Also, for anywhere in the US, if you're somewhere and there's lots of women and children, you're probably in a safe environment. But if you find yourself on a street alone or in the same environment as before, it's later and most of the women and children have left, it's time to leave. My street has a bike rally every year and it's very family-oriented during the day, but at night it's not, and for over 20 years, someone has gotten shot or stabbed at that event, always at night when it's 90% dudes. Follow the women and children at night, got it! I generally feel pretty safe when I'm out and about because I'm a fairly tall guy with a shaved head and a beard. And even I know to stay out of places like that because I am still just one guy. Yeah, I'm not just some disembodied voice. Shocking, I know. Story 5. If you feel like you're in an unsafe area, keep your head up, look angry, and look like you know where you're going even when you don't. You're much more likely to be a target if you're looking around or showing signs that you're lost. Story 6. Security guards, doormen, foot cart operators, and blue-collar workers in general are well-versed about the location of the nearest restrooms. I like that all these top comments are about how not to get murdered, and then there's just one about finding a toilet. Confirmed ex-HVAC technician, I can recite the coordinates to every single speedway in town. Story 7. Walk on the road if you're in a real shady neighborhood and it's late at night. Not in traffic, but away from the alleyway entrances. I used to have a regular route through a seedy part of town, and I always figured people walked in the middle of the road there because life was hard and they just didn't give an F. Never occurred to me that it could be a safe thing. Rough neighborhoods also often have poorly maintained sidewalks and or a bunch of junk or litter on them, so walking in the street is often to the path of least resistance. Yep, especially in sketchy suburbs, middle of the road, you are the furthest distance away from all potential hiding places for people with ill intent. But what if it's raining? If I'm not on the sidewalk, how can I sing and swing on the light posts and stuff like that when I'm doing my musical number? This is supposed to be a joke alluding to the dance from I'm Singing in the Rain, but holy crap, no one is going to get that reference. I need to stop. Story 8. If you see something potentially illegal going on, don't look directly at them, especially if you know that you're not going to be reporting it to the police. Was once on the subway when I heard a loud metallic clatter, looked over to see what it was. Some dude behind me had dropped his gun. Immediately went back to looking dead ahead and then got off on the next stop. You should have picked it up for him. People have no manners these days. I got verbally accosted by some man in a parking lot who thought I had seen whatever illegal crap he just did, even though I wasn't even looking that way at all. I just didn't say a word and kept walking, but he kept yelling and saying he was getting my tag number, which was unsettling. Dear drug dealers, maybe don't schedule drops in a effing Publix parking lot and you won't have to worry about onlookers. My friend accidentally witnessed a huge exchange in the parking lot of a motel. He knew he was outside for a cigarette and it was like 3 o'clock a.m. and these dudes pulled up and started loading bags from a room into a car with one clear leader looking out. When the leader spotted my friend, he immediately pretended to be blackout drunk, even dropping his cigarette but repeating the motion of bringing it to his lips to smoke. He wanted to look incoherent. He went back into his room, locked his doors, and didn't sleep the rest of the night. Walk right up to them and in my best Ned Flanders voice, "Hey there, gentlemen, what you got there?" Putting my head down and pretending to cry has helped put people off when I see stuff. Like, I'm wrapped up in my own world, I don't notice yours. I've had people I've witnessed seeing dumb stuff even say things like, "It'll be okay," and "Tomorrow will be different." Like after they were talking about how to break in somewhere. It was surprisingly sweet. I'm no snitch, so I'm glad I figured a way to at least get that out of their mind, haha. Used to live in a bad area of a major metro. Whenever friends would visit, the one rule was always, you don't look. I don't care how crazy of a sound you heard, or what crazy thing caught the corner of your eye, or what crazy thing the guy we are walking by is trying to tell you. If you pay attention to it, you're going to end up involved whether you want to or not. Frankly, you all need to just learn to be more like me. I'm just naturally unobservant. I was in New York with some friends, walking down the street, and eventually one of them was like, "How were you not even fazed by that?" Which confused me. Turns out, we had walked right by the scene of a murder or something. The cops were covering up a body, blood on the ground, police tape. I didn't notice it or my friends reacting to it. Story 9. If someone starts to loudly state that they've lost their wallet or phone, don't obviously or immediately go to check on yours in your bag or pocket. It's a common pickpocket technique to get people to show the pickpockets where their stuff is. Instead, search the wrong pocket and scream, "Me too!" Grab your crotch, say, "Whew, I didn't lose mine," and smile intimidatingly. If someone asks you for help, like, "My car won't start," or really anything, don't help them, but offer to call someone for them. I learned this 10 years ago. I had to do a thing in the bad side of town once a week early in the morning. I would get there about 5 a.m., they opened at 6, but I wanted to get in and out and leave. There were a few other regulars at that time for the same reason. One I befriended was a lady named Kim. We were both there one morning. A couple of guys pulled up in their car about 100 feet from us. They got out, lifted the hood, made some noise, and called us over to help them. They were having car troubles. Kim told me to stay where I was. I shrugged and said, okay. She walks over, they talk for a few minutes, they drive off, and she comes back. Kim says, they didn't have car trouble. They were going to rob us. I say, seriously? No crap. Why did they drive off then? Kim says, I showed them the gun in my hand. Then she showed me the gun in her hand. I said, oh, okay. Stated tip, don't help them, but offer to call someone for them. Actual tip, have a gun. LOL, I don't think you were actually saying that, just funny to read it that way. I feel like that could easily lead to a wild shootout, but maybe that's the kind of wild life Kim is all about. She lives for the danger. Story 10. If you're talking to a stranger and they start looking around as if checking for witnesses, you gotta leave, quickly. Story 11. If you ever get pulled over at night, immediately turn on all your lights inside your car. In my experience, it tends to relieve whatever tension the officer may have since they can see you a little bit more clearly. Plus, it's better than having a flashlight shine in your face. Story 12. Never count your cash in public, even in singles. And wrap the big bills with a $1 bill. Story 13. Never yell back at a group of guys verbally harassing you. Just keep walking. Don't make a face, don't change your walking pace. Keep going as they're not there. Facts. I was stupid and told a group of obnoxious men to go F themselves while I was walking in a public place. I was swarmed and surrounded faster than I thought possible. A few cops broke it up, but not until after I had a black eye and a busted lip. Just keep walking and say nothing. Am I allowed to compliment them? Excellent japery, my fine fellows. You've certainly bested me in verbal combat. Bully for you! Story 14. In crowded areas, carry bags, purses, and packages in front of you rather than behind you. And put your wallet and other important stuff in a zippered compartment deep inside. Pickpockets only got my makeup bag instead of my wallet when they pickpocketed my purse. The makeup bag served as a decoy. I live in a country with a very high crime rate. If I'm going into a dangerous area, I use a whole handbag as a decoy. Inside is a broken cell phone and a decoy wallet. Everything else is in a thin bag strapped to my waist under my clothing. And yes, about 10 years ago, someone ripped it out of my hands and ran off with the decoy handbag when the train stopped at a station. It wasn't too bad back then, but these days, don't take the train in South Africa unless you want to be mugged. Story 15. If something feels wrong, it's probably about to be really wrong. Listen to your gut. Story 16. Lock your doors as soon as you're in a car. Had a friend who got into this habit. She hopped in her car one day and was there about half a second difference between the lock activating and a random guy yanking at the passenger side with a knife. Stay safe out there. Most cars unlock the driver door with one button push and all the doors with two. Don't hit it more than once if you're alone. Someone can get in the back seat way too easily. Well, gonna be paranoid as hell about that from now on. I mean, I live in a decently metropolitan area, so probably best that I am. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. Story 17. Don't raise your voice with strangers and always be the last to speak. You don't know if these guys are wired properly or not. Story 18. If an attractive woman asks for directions, look for her partner behind you or going into your car to take what they can grab. Typical vacation area scam. Walking in Vegas one night, I had not one, but two, my car won't start. Won't you come into this alley and help me fix it? Women try to persuade me to help out. Like, nope. Kept walking. Wait, like a literal alley? To be honest, I'd be offended that she thought I'd fall for it. Ah yes, you just happened to park your car in an alleyway for it to break down, and the funny part is, I'd be dumb enough to fall for it. I'm just a naive person that likes helping. Story 19. Look with your eyes, not your head. Also, walk with intent. Don't look meek or unsure. Even if you have no effing idea where you are going, head up, body posture up like you got business someplace. You are a less attractive target if you look like you might fight back. I read that same great advice in a book called The Gift of Fear. Talk about listening to all those little red flags going off in your body when danger is near. Use your peripheral vision. Just march around looking furious and loudly muttering, "God, I love murdering people. Ooh, I want to do a murder. Murder, murder, murder." Story 20. If someone is blatantly violating social norms, such as blasting music on the subway or taking a phone call in a movie theater, keep in mind that if they are willing to violate one social norm, they are probably willing to violate others, including prohibition on violence. You don't have to be meek in the face of obnoxious people, but you do have to factor in the increased likelihood of violence. Story 21. Always get the money up front. People who want to pay later probably won't, and then things can get messy. And count it there and then. If it's wrong, if they underpaid you, you don't want to go back later when they can deny it and accuse you of trying to rip them off. Count it, and if it's wrong, tell them they made a little mistake so they can save face. Story 22. Doors and corners. Always remember the doors and corners. That's where they get you. Humans are too effing stupid to listen. Story 23. If someone approaching you says, "Hey man, I ain't gonna rob you," they're probably gonna try to rob you. Similarly, if someone is asking you for help but you need to follow them around the corner to help them, don't. Politely say you're late to a meeting and keep walking. Robbers aren't allowed to lie about being robbers, though. Story 24. Confirm the license plate and make sure you are getting in your proper Uber/Lyft. When my wife and I were in South Africa, we took a lot of Ubers. We always confirmed the plate number, and instead of getting in, I would ask, "Who are you here to get?" There have been too many cases of people getting into the wrong car and getting robbed, arred, or murdered, sometimes all three. We never had any issues. Additional tip I was told, if two people are in the vehicle, it's most definitely not your Uber. And if it's followed closely by a car with more than two people, also probably not your Uber. And if there's a warthog, a rhino, a brain, and an angry kitchen appliance man, that is also not your Uber. That's the Technodrome. Why was that the first joke that came to my mind? Oh, that's so friggin' stupid, but I'm leaving it in. Story 25. If something feels wrong/scary and makes you uncomfortable, get the F out as soon as possible. Sure, maybe something might not happen, but like Mr. Miyagi said, the best way to avoid trouble is not be there. Story 26. Always put something between yourself and the ground, even if it's just a piece of cardboard. Especially on asphalt. It absorbs heat and it will feel like it's sucking the life out of you. That's a very street tip. Yep, I spent one night on the streets and although I had a blanket, I ended up really cold. Eventually had the smarts to dig a couple newspapers out of the trash. Way better after that. Story 27. Trust your gut. If anyone seems a little too friendly, get away as soon as possible. I'm a professional investigator/interviewer. The reason you feel uncomfortable in these situations is your lizard brain sensing the dissonance between the body language and the message. Always trust your gut. As a former recruiting cultist, people that are suckers for too friendly were our top demographic. Street ain't the place to have a free therapy session. It's a place to get reasons for long and expensive trauma recovery. A lot of this advice is just to trust your gut, and honestly, that's good advice in a lot of situations. It might not always be right, but better safe than sorry. Story 28. Exercise your legs. Although in a bad situation, they'll probably feel like wet noodles. If needed, you'll be able to run. It will also show in everyday life that you're capable of moving effortlessly. Most people are sluggish, and it's not hard to notice. Bruh, I had to sprint from one side of an airport to another to make a connecting flight, and Jesus, I realized how crap my legs and mobility were despite being in relatively, I thought, good shape. Exercise your legs. I also made the flight within minutes to spare despite having to slow down to a walk halfway through the sprint. Apparently, rules for the street are the same as rules in a zombie apocalypse. Rule 1. Cardio. Story 29. Know where the exits are at all times. I've watched video of the Situation nightclub fire too many times. Any place with a large crowd of people and limited exits, I memorize how to get the F out of the building as quickly as possible. Also, try to get seats as close to that exit during the event. Story 30. There's no shame in running away from a fight. You win every fight you avoid. Those who run away live to fight another day. Wouldn't they just run away again? Especially if you are outnumbered. Get out of there. Ron White said it best. I don't know how many of them it would take to kick my butt, but I knew how many they were going to use. Story 31. If you are involved in a confrontation, pay attention to the hands. 2 things. If they reach into their pocket and or under their shirt, you are likely going to be hit with something, stabbed, or shot. If they are tucking their hands by their hamstring and or clenching their fist while looking you up and down, you're about to get punched. Run or take the fight to them because if either one of those things are happening, you're already the underdog. And something like 90% of first punches in a fight are overhand rights. Story 32. If there's nobody where you are, there's probably a reason, and you need to leave ASAP. Story 33. Listen always and speak only when you need to. People don't know when to shut up. Also, give the least amount of details. Giving people your whole life story is not needed. Exactly. Every time I read advice like that, I remember the scene from The West Wing where Babish was prepping CJ for testifying due to the investigation of POTUS for covering up his MS. Babish, do you know what time it is? CJ, it's insert time here. Babish, I want you to get out of the habit of doing that. CJ, what? Babish, answering more than what was asked. Do you know what time it is? CJ, yes. This is good advice for dealing with strangers, but I have a few friends in life who need to not do this in friendly conversations. I often ask my partner, do you want blank or blank for dinner? Her response, yes. Story 34. Always check the toilet paper roll before taking a dump. If I finish the roll in a public stall and there isn't more TP available, I prop up the seat with the empty roll. Saves the next guy from shuffling to the next stall with his pants around his feet. Doing the Lord's work. Thank you for your service. Story 35. Always look like you know where you're going even when you don't. Done this all my life. Now I'm not sure if I'm on the right side of the globe anymore, but I'm still walking straight forward looking all confident. See ya. I was going to post this. Thieves use that as a sign of a victim. Looking nervous or flat scared is bad too. Story 36. If a motorcycle with 2 people on it slows down near you, run, especially in South and Central America. Story 37. When you stop your car, always make sure you have enough room in front of you for an escape route. It's impossible sometimes, but do the best you can, and don't be afraid to run them over if they're trying to kill or kidnap you. Story 38. If you notice somebody following your car whilst you're driving, try and drive in a circle by taking consecutive right or left turns and see if they're still following you. And don't stop at your home. Keep going, because then not only is some sketchy creep following you, now they know where you live. Comment section, let me know if this is relatable, but when I'm driving behind someone, if I happen to follow them for more than a single turn, I start to worry that they think I'm stalking them. I've literally taken a different route home when I followed someone through like 5 different turns, and I was like, I can take a 5-minute detour so they don't think they're about to be murdered. Story 39. Fighting is not like the movies. Many people won't fight fair even. You never know what a person's got in their pockets, like a knife or any deadly weapon for that matter. Also seen people go back to their car and get a piece. Also, on the other side of the coin, you shouldn't pull out a weapon unless you absolutely know you're going to do some damage, because that same weapon can be pulled out on you quickly. Story 40. Silence is scarier than crap talk. Listen more, talk less, learn everything. Story 41. A red traffic light is just a traffic suggestion to some people. Always keep an eye out at intersections for idiots running a red light. Mama always said graveyards are full of people who have the right of way. Story 42. If you're in a bad neighborhood, for the love of God, stay in well-lit areas. The shortcut through the alley will cost you more than the time it saves. But I want to be Batman! You pull that stunt and you're not going to be Batman. Your kid is going to be Batman. Story 43. Don't act like a victim. Walk tall and keep your head up. Story 44. Beware of people who have nothing to lose and people who have everything to lose. I don't know what to do with that advice. If someone confronts me, do I just go, "Do you have anything to lose?" Story 45. Well, if you're traveling, never randomly stop on the sidewalk to consult a map or appear visibly lost. Duck into a coffee shop or something to orient yourself. Ain't no coffee shops in the hood, my boy. Duck into a Metro PCS instead? Don't duck into a coffee shop in Amsterdam, though. You'll probably disorient yourself. You don't have to smoke there. You can also just play chess with someone and give the cat head rubs. Story 46. I travel quite a lot, so some things I've realized. If you find a gas station and all the windows are covered by ads so much they can't see outside, well, that is because they don't want to be a witness. If you stop seeing sidewalks, a lack of streetlights, walking signs, or no more stoplights, that is not where you need to be. Always keep a change of clothes and some water in your car. Never know when you need it. Story 47. You didn't see crap. This is so true. Local arcade/bowling alley, I walked in on these two huge dudes doing blow. Made eye contact with the one that looked up as I came into the bathroom, got challenged, said I didn't see anything, and went to wash my hands. As I leave, they offer me some for being cool. I don't want to F with Coke, so I said I'm all good, dried my hands, left the room. Always keep your eyes and ears open, but see and hear nothing and keep a short memory. That part I can do, because I'm pretty sure in the moment I'm not going to remember this advice. Story 48. Look both ways before you cross, bro. Look both ways even if it's a one-way road. Story 49. Mind your own business. If you see someone doing something they shouldn't be doing that isn't hurting someone, drinking on the train, stealing, illegally selling stuff, keep it moving. Don't stare either. Trying to get a stranger to abide by your vision of right and wrong can end in you getting jumped very easily. So yeah, if it isn't hurting anyone, it's not your business. Don't put a target on your back over some moral high ground. Story 50. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. There is nothing free in this life, nothing you want. I just moved to New York City. I was leaving work in Midtown when a big tall dude with dreads stopped me. Among other things, he tells me that he was drawn to my Gemini energy. How the hell did he know that? And said he wanted me to have this and handed me an opal ring and walked off. I have never been so confused in my entire life. I was sure it was some kind of scam, but he just gave it to me and left. I still have that ring, and I think we might be married now? He's only right 1 in 12 times, but damn does it blow their mind when he is. Story 51. Never commit a misdemeanor while committing a felony. Examples: don't jaywalk with an illegal gun on you. If there's a body in your trunk or drugs under your sheet, make sure your inspection and insurance are up to date. All your lights are functioning properly and your tint isn't illegal. Good call. I'll be sure to check my tail lights before the next time I need to move a dead body. Legit, this is exactly how serial killer Joel Rifkin got caught. Oof, I need to check my tail lights. For no reason. No reason at all. Video over. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.